we had about 60% of people financing. And when you think of 60% of your clients adding an extra $2,200 on average, that's a lot of turnover over a year. Had I not offered the finance, then we wouldn't have the ability to make that money.
Hey, and welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And it's just Steve and I today. Steve, just the two of us.
Just us two lonely old men.
There we go. So we can talk to something that we love to talk about, which is money, right?
We should have actually done this in the local pub.
We could have. So this week's podcast, guys, we're going to talk about, can you afford to offer finance to your clients? So, Steve, we're asked this quite a bit, right? We've members asking us this all the time, and it seems to confuse. And we know that if you confuse, you lose, right? So we want to bring some clarity to this area of offering finance to your clients.
Well, in my head, this is money. You're asking clients to spend their future income, and it's money that they're now spending that they don't currently have. And so I don't think most people can afford not to offer finance, because if it allows people to buy that extra thing, one more thing, how much more would you be able to increase your average sale, which compounds all of your efforts? Because there's a lot of time and effort in marketing, a lot of time and effort in prospecting, because you've got to market, then you've got to prospect, then you've got to convert, you've got to book, you've got to educate, you've got to nurture, and you still haven't taken a photo yet. And so if every person could then has the ability to access their future income on something that they really, really want, we're never pushing people to buy, on something that they really, really want, then the cost of the finance at the moment is the fact that you don't have it because you can't offer them that extra thing, which in my studio, the average person financed just over $2,000. We had about 60% of people financing. And when you think of 60% of your clients adding an extra $2,200 on average, that's a lot of turnover over a year. Had I not offered the finance, then we wouldn't have the ability to make that money. And my preference was using a finance company, and we had three different offerings. But my personal favorite was to get the money up front. Were we charged a fee for that? Yes. But at that 2,200 mark, it wasn't ridiculous. Once we started pushing people to 3, 4, 5s, the percentages that you're being charged as a business increases. But in saying that, that becomes all part of my pricing. And so because I knew that this was almost like a cost of goods sold factor, when it's already incorporated into your price, then it's not costing me money. The client doesn't see it as an additional cost. I'm just assuming everyone's going to finance, and I've added it to my pricing. Now, 40% of my clients weren't financing, and so they were paying really with that included, because it was included in the pricing. But there's the opportunity cost of not being able to offer it is huge. And in fact, it was one of my key performance indicators for my sales team. My expectation was that we would give people an incredible experience. And if that was true, most people would want to spend more than they can afford.
And the financing then is the solution to that, right?
Solution to that problem. And they could choose to take it up, and it was 0% financing charge to them, but it was already inbuilt into my price. So perceptually, it's interest-free to them. But it added vast amount to my turnover.
So, Steve, we see many people approach this the wrong way, though, like where some people present it from the outset as this is only $250 a month, or this is only $400 a month, right? That has big implications financially to your business too, right?
It does. I think a lot of people are scared to ask for the total. And so they opt for it'll only be this much per month. But then clients don't understand how long that's going to go for. Sometimes they only hear 243 and they think that that's the only amount that they're paying. People hear what they want to hear. It's up to us to make sure that we are communicating, and communicating is about understanding what that person's understood. The other issue sometimes is that when I'm training people, and even when I was training my team, because there is a minimum deposit, and for us, that deposit was 33%. Now, we could ask for a 10%. Like, I didn't tell my team that the finance company would allow a 10% deposit, because they started getting into the habit of only asking for the minimum. Now, when you're asking for 10%, the financing charges tripled. And so the cost of providing that finance tripled. But if we have done our job properly, and we have qualified the clients, and we communicated the price, and we built the desire, most people have access to, at least $2,000 for something that they really want desperately. When you think about it, Apple releases a brand new phone and there's queues of people buying multiple phones. Most people have access on their credit card. They'll have it in their savings. And if we have done our marketing properly, we've got our alliances on board, we've created the desire, they should have been prepared to spend a certain amount of money because we qualified them. And I found that when I had my team and they knew that there was a minimum deposit, they only worked to a minimum deposit. And that then cost me the most money. But if we did our job properly, and the client's now adding to the order, and say that order is 2,000, we can ask for the minimum, which is 10%, or in our case, a third. And that would be about $400 or $500, $450 maybe. But then I'm now paying finance on that entire amount. But if we follow the rules and ask our clients, well, what can you afford to that today? If we've already quoted them $800 or $900 or $1,200 on the phone, and they know that's what they're going to spend, they're probably going to have $1,500 with them. And so if we ask them, well, I came prepared even for $1,200, then we're only financing $800 of that $2,000 sale, not $1,600, because that third is $400 odd. And so the more we finance, the more it costs the business. But I'm factoring that into my pricing anyway. The issue you've got is that, when you are factoring it into your pricing, your prices have got to go up. And we have to then have the confidence to ask for those prices. And we don't want to run into the danger of not having the confidence to offer that extra thing because the prices have blown up. And so if you can work on accepting what the clients have rather than believing that they will only have the minimum or asking for the minimum, then you are financing the minimum amount that you need to as a business.
And I can see how that would be a mistake that many photographers would make, right? When the finance company set a minimum, that we think we should lead with that, as distinct from understanding what our clients can pay today. Yeah. And the difference is what we're financing, right?
Well, the financing companies, and this isn't just photographers, this is retail in general, and this is everyone. The finance companies comes out and trains, or they'll run and do a training call, and then each person had to be verified. So every one of my staff members had to be verified, had to go through the training. And the training received from them, they were training my team to ask for the minimum.
Of course. Wouldn't you?
Now, from the finance company's point of view, they wanted us to ask for the minimum because then we are financing the maximum. And so then they're getting as much money as they possibly can from every sale, right, that we did. So just beware, if you are doing this and, when you do get those calls, you then have to undo some of the training that is given by the finance companies, because they're looking out for number one, they're looking out for their business, and they're in effect asking for the maximum that they can ask for by asking us to ask for the minimum deposit, because then we are then financing the highest percentage out of that sale. But getting back to, can we afford to offer finance? I don't think you can afford not to, because even if you're getting payments in full all the time, how much are you leaving on the table? Because if your clients had access to more, and if you had more product to sell, could you sell more? And if it's built into your pricing, then you're making, why would you not do that? Because if you, in a lot of cases, even if you sold one more 8x10 per person, ours were $200 per 8x10. An extra $200 per person, and we were photographing 80 people per month per studio. That's a lot, but on average, that extra thing is about $1,200, $1,500, sometimes $2,000 or $3,000. And so if they're now, and the average per person, I worked out, that took out finance, the average came to $2,200. And so each person was adding $2,200 to their order that they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do had we not had the finance.
So let's say, Steve, I'm now on board. I want to offer finance to my clients. So at what stage do I make my clients aware that I have this finance available?
Ideally, when you get to the point in the sale where they say, oh my God, I can't afford it. I need to cut down my order. A lot of people lead with this on the phone and tell them that we have, finance, so you only need to bring a deposit. But the problem is we never define what that deposit is. And so a lot of people come in, Mike's team made that mistake at first. They were telling everybody that they needed to just come in with a deposit because we offer finance now. They got all excited about the finance. And what was happening was people came in with $50 thinking that that was a deposit to hold their order and then they could finance the rest. But when we got rid of that and on the phone told them that they had to pay for whatever they order, and we were quoting, and we would always quote depending upon what people wanted. So if they said that they wanted something above their couch, we were probably quoting $1,200, $1,500 for a piece of artwork that was going above their couch. If they were quoting, if they wanted something to go in a small space, maybe we were quoting $600 or $700. So the quoting was dependent upon what people said they wanted or needed. But if we're telling them that they need to pay for whatever they order and they truly believe this is what they want, then they're going to come in with that amount minimum.
So the financing then is really to allow the client to keep buying what they want to buy, what they love, over and above what they thought they were going to spend when they come in for the design consultation.
I know, even in myself, that the things we value the most are the things that we had to stretch ourselves a little bit for. And it's the same for our clients. If they truly value, and when they truly value what we've given them, and when we've provided a transformational experience for them, when this represents something that's meaningful to them, then they will want to stretch themselves. And it's not a push. You're providing a solution for them to walk away with exactly what they would love to have. And my business ran mostly on referrals. Now, 60% were spending more than they could afford because they were financing, but they could afford that extra finance. And it led to, happy clients that were walking away with what they really wanted. They didn't have to sacrifice anything or minimize anything or settle for anything. They walked away with what they wanted because we offered that finance. And it meant that for 60% of the sales, we were making an extra $2,200. Now, some people might make an extra $500 or $1,000, but what would that mean across 60% of your clients?
It's ginormous. It nearly goes straight to the bottom line, right?
It's almost all bottom line.
Yeah.
Because everybody's financing different amounts, and there's still 40% of the clients that aren't taking out finance, but are contributing to that financing cost because it's built into the pricing. The financing companies were trying to teach us that we should have a financing price and a cash upfront price. But it just added another decision, another complication, people feeling like they were being penalized for taking out finance. It used to confuse people. Why is there two prices? It's the same thing, right? And so although the financing companies, they're there to look after themselves, right? It's up to us to understand how to sell. It's up to us to understand our clients. And so we then have to work out what is the best way for us to communicate the price. Having one price is the easiest. And it's the same as, we don't tell them how much the paper is and the framing and my staffing costs and my rent. It's all built into the price. So why is this any different? It's a cost of doing business.
So Steve, is there any instance that you've coached a photography business and say, don't offer finance yet?
Some need to build up the confidence first, right? To ask for the money, okay? Because they're struggling sometimes to ask for what they're already priced at, let alone asking them to then, increase their prices to compensate for that. So in that case, yes, they weren't ready for it. And there were too many other things to fix before they got to that point of view. So when we start, it's more about better conversions, converting and creating better quality clients on the phone. Because without them, you don't need finance anyway, right? So you want to be able to create an experience where people want to buy, not that you're pushing them to buy. And that starts on the phone. And so if they haven't got a handle on creating quality clients over the phone that want to buy from you, having finance is not going to make a difference.
So this is not a chicken and egg scenario. You do not put finance in first before you get the phone call, right?
Well, it depends on how confident you are, I suppose. But as a coach, my job is to be provide the most effective solution for now. And if I'm identifying that they're just filling a calendar as opposed to creating quality clients and and coaching people on seeing where their value is, not our value, and helping them find out what matters to them and what is meaningful to them and the real reason why they want a photo shoot. And it's never because they want a photo. There's always something underlying. Those clients want to spend, and we don't have to push them. We don't have to package them. We don't have to have variable discounting factors in order to make them spend. We want to create a situation where clients want to spend with us. And so usually the phone is the first place I look, because that then creates a ripple effect across the whole business. It makes conversions easier. They actually turn up. There's minimal movement. There's minimal no-shows. There's minimal people that come in and don't spend. And when you eradicate all of that, already most businesses have tripled their income.
So what you're saying is that, like everything we teach, finance is not a silver bullet on its own.
No.
that it's something that when you deliver that transformational client experience, when they want to keep spending, that you give them the permission to keep spending when they've gone to the budget they came in with.
It's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It's the cream. Allowing people to buy one more thing with their future income is the cream. Mm. And you've got to think that most of your expenses and or most of your costs are already compensated for in what they were prepared to spend before that extra thing. And so that extra thing is almost pure profit other than the cost of that, other than whatever it cost you at the lab, really.
Yeah.
Plus delivery and the financing charge. But if I'm getting an extra $2,200 and the financing charge on that, I think was about 8% for me on that. And they rank your business. So I know photographers paying 18% for the same thing, but because they didn't tick all the boxes, they didn't fill out the forms properly, they had a lot of people default, that business then was higher risk and so was paying more. We were able to negotiate and it was 8%. So 2,200, 8%, what is that? 10% is
220. So 8% is 1/5 of that. About 40, about 160-ish, isn't it?
Okay. People will do the math. It'll be between 160 and 200. That way we get into trouble. Let's say 200. For me to spend an extra 200 plus my cost of goods sold on a 2,200 piece, cost of goods sold should be 20% or no more. So that's 440 plus say 200. That's 600. My margin is now 1,400.
Yeah. Straight to the bottom line.
Straight to the bottom line because they've already spent, $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Potentially, whatever that is.
And that's the bit that you're financing. You're only financing the cream.
I'm only financing the cream because we never, ever, ever, ever say, oh, well, you need to leave a minimum of 10% or in our case, a third. And tell them what that amount is, because somebody who has $2,000 or $3,000, they could give it to you. If you ask for $1,000 and let them know that there's 0% financing charge for them, they're not going to give you $3,000 because they're better off with that money in their bank.
Yeah, of course.
They'll give you the minimum that you ask for because they can earn money off their income, off that money that they've got somewhere else. And so they're not going to give that to you.
Yeah.
Most people. And so that's an important factor to to consider is, how do you go about asking whether they need that? And they need to get to the point where I think a lot of people start with this, but you need to, take them through experience. Let them have that experience. Let them design the artwork that they want. Let them find the locations that they want in their home. Design something specific for them. Let them fall in love with it. Let them know the price. We have to be upfront with that. And it's only when they say that, oh my God, I wasn't expecting it. I can't afford that. And somebody that's racked up 3,000 or 4,000 and has allowed themselves to rack that up, aren't going to say I've only got $100 or $150, because we're being upfront with the price multiple times on the phone, during the product walk, as they're adding things to the shopping cart, we're telling them the price. And so somebody that's racking up 3,000 usually has 1,500, $2,000.
All right. So have you ever had a scenario, Steve, where the person has been too proud to say, oh, I don't have the money for that? Or like, have you ever had that scenario where they actually don't say that? How do you, if they don't come out with those words, how do you read it?
Well, sometimes you get to the card machine and it defaults on 4 cards. And they're like, I didn't know what happened. You can then offer finance at that point too.
Yeah.
You try for a lesser amount, and I would normally say, well, how much do you think we should try for? Because we've just, let's say the bill came to 3,000. How much do you think we should try for? Can we try for 2,000? Right. I would never go straight to the minimum of, if I knew that I'm only meant to take a third, I would never go to the minimum amount. I would first ask them, how much do you think we can try for? And if they come in and, let's try 500, I said, well, we probably need about 2,000. Can we try for that? Then we would try for that. If we can't get that, then we'll work down, because we need something up front. The finance companies, there are companies that will accept a zero deposit, but the charges are huge. And I personally don't feel right about letting them finance the whole amount, because it's something that they can't genuinely afford in that case. Even at a 10%, that's why I didn't do the 10%, because I felt bad about if somebody can really only afford 10% and is then having to pay the finance company. I get my money as soon as we deliver and they sign off that they've collected it. And then the finance company then collects the money. And I want this to be a long-term client. I don't want to put them in a financial pickle knowingly. And if they can only afford 10%, they probably shouldn't be spending $3,000 with me. Let's reduce the order to what you can afford. I'd rather have a long-term client than them ringing me that the finance company is chasing them and, this isn't, we force them to spend. I don't want to be in that position.
All right. So, guys, you've got it from Steve as to how to approach finance in your business, and that it's only one tiny piece of the total jigsaw to deliver an amazing client experience. So all you have to do is click on the link below and join us in the inner circle, where you have access to the full jigsaw, and all those pieces will come together and click together very, very quickly.
It's the joy of business. We're always learning our way.
That's it, Steve. That's it, Steve. We'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.